The silence in deep space was not empty. It was heavy. It pressed against the metal hull of the great ships with the weight of 1,000 dead suns. For the Varan Armada, the silence had been their only companion for nearly 100 years. Their ships were massive, jagged things made of dark iron and glowing blue veins, but now they were just floating tombs. They were stuck in a region of space known as the Void, a place where stars were few and the radiation was strange. It was a place that drained energy. Inside the largest ship, the Iron Will, the air was stale. The great engines that once roared with power were cold. The Varan people were tall, reptilian creatures with scales of green and gray. They were a proud race of warriors and builders, but now they were tired. They were dying. Their life support systems were failing slowly. They had food for a few more years, perhaps, but hope had run out a long time ago. Commander Eric stood on the bridge of his ship. He looked out the huge window at the other ships in his fleet. There were hundreds of them, drifting like rocks in a river. He remembered the day they got stuck. It was a mistake in navigation. They flew into a cloud of radiation that killed their drive cores. Without the cores, they could not jump to warp speed. They were trapped, moving so slowly that they would never reach another star system in their lifetime. "Sir," said a young officer. His voice was weak. "The sensors detect a wave. It is not natural." Eric turned his head slowly. "Is it a meteor?" "No, sir," the officer said, his hands shaking over the controls. "It is a ship. It just appeared." Eric walked to the console. He looked at the screen. A shape had formed in the distance. It was small compared to the Varan ships. It was smooth and white, shaped like a needle with large engines at the back. It looked fragile. "Identify," Eric ordered. "I cannot, sir." "It matches no known Varan design?" "It is not Kryler, and it is not Vex. The hull is simple." "It looks like it is made of basic alloys." Eric felt a cold fear in his chest. In their history, meeting a new ship usually meant one thing: war. Scavengers came to the Void sometimes to look for lost ships to steal, or enemies came to finish them off. "Raise shields," Eric commanded. "Prepare weapons. If they fire, we will fire back." The bridge became busy with alarms and red lights. The Varan crew moved with slow movements because they were weak from hunger and low energy. They aimed their great guns at the small white ship. On the small human ship, the Samaritan, the mood was very different. The bridge was bright and clean. There was coffee cups on the consoles and screens showing data. Captain June sat in the command chair. He was a man with calm eyes and tired shoulders. He had been in space for a long time. "Captain," said Lieutenant Jahan. She was sitting at the communications station. "I am reading massive energy spikes from the Varan ships. They are targeting us." Captain June took a sip of his coffee. "Of course they are. They've been stuck here for a century. Anyone else who came probably tried to rob them." "Are they firing?" "Not yet, sir. But their weapons are charged." "Don't raise shields," June said calmly. Jahan turned around in her chair. "Sir, they could blow us apart with one shot." "Our ship is not a warship. If we raise shields, they will shoot," June said. "We have to show them we are not a threat." "Open a channel." "Use the universal language code." "Use broad spectrum." "I want to talk to them." Jahan hesitated, but she trusted her captain. She typed on her keyboard. "Channel open, sir." June stood up. He straightened his uniform jacket. He looked at the main screen where the image of the Varan flagship appeared. It looked scary and dark. "This is Captain June of the Earthship Samaritan," he said. His voice went out into the silence of space. "To the ships of the Varan fleet. We are not here to harm you." On the bridge of the Iron Will, the crew stared at the screen. They saw a human face. He looked soft. He had hair on his face and no scales. He looked weak. Commander Eric narrowed his eyes. "Earth, I do not know this species." "What do you want, Captain June?" "If you are scavengers, be warned. We may be stranded, but we can still destroy you." The voice of the alien came through the speakers, clear and calm. "We are not scavengers. We are explorers. We picked up a distress signal from your fleet. It has been traveling through space for 50 years. We came as fast as we could to see if anyone needed help. Eric was silent. He looked at his officers. They were confused. Help? Eric asked into the microphone. What help can you offer? Our drive cores are dead. We have no fuel. We are dying. We have engineers, June replied. And we have technology. Maybe we can find a way to fix your cores. Or at least we can share our food and medicine. You don't have to be alone out here. The bridge of the Varan ship was very quiet. Eric did not know what to say. In the Varan culture, nothing was free. If someone helped you, you owed them a debt. Sometimes that debt meant your freedom. Sometimes it meant your planet. Why would this small ship, this tiny species, risk their lives to help a powerful, stranded armada? This is a trick, Eric's second-in-command whispered. They want to board us to sabotage us or take our command codes. Eric watched the human face on the screen. The human June was smiling. It was a small, tired smile. It did not look like the smile of a liar. Captain June, Eric said. If you come here and you cannot fix us, you will be stranded with us. You will die here with us. June nodded on the screen. We know the risk. But we couldn't just leave you here without checking. That is not what humans do. Eric felt a strange feeling in his chest. It was a feeling he had not felt in a long time. It was a tiny spark of hope, but it was mixed with suspicion. He looked at his dying crew. He looked at the dark space outside. They had nothing left to lose. Lower your weapons, Eric ordered his crew. But keep the shields on low power. Allow them to dock in Bay 4. Sir, are you sure? The officer asked. No, Eric said. But I am tired of this silence. Let us see what these humans are made of. Back on the Samaritan, Lieutenant Jahan let out a breath she did not know she was holding. They are lowering the guns, Captain. They are sending us coordinates for a docking bay. Captain June smiled. Good, prep a shuttle. Get Engineer Han and his team ready. Tell them to bring their toolkits and the portable reactor. The reactor, sir? Jahan asked. That is heavy. We are going to try to jumpstart a fleet, Lieutenant, June said. We are going to need a lot of power. And tell Dr. Jin to pack his medical bag. I have a feeling our new friends haven't seen a doctor in a long time. The shuttle launched from the Samaritan. It was a small, bulky ship, not pretty like the Varan vessels. It flew across the gap between the two ships. Inside the shuttle sat Engineer Han. He was a young man with messy hair and grease on his hands. He was looking at a tablet that showed the schematics of the Varan ship. Look at this, Han said to his assistant Sue. Their engine design is beautiful. It is complex, very rigid. It is like a piece of art, but it has no flexibility. That is why they can't fix it. Sue looked out the window as they approached the massive dark hull of the alien ship. Do you think they will let us touch their art, Han? Han laughed. They better. If they want to go home, they are going to have to let a human get messy with their engine. The shuttle landed in the huge alien docking bay. The doors opened and the air hissed. The gravity was slightly heavier than on Earth. Han stepped out first, carrying a heavy box. Sue followed him. In front of them stood a line of Varan soldiers. They were huge, holding spears that glowed with energy. They looked down at the small humans. Commander Eric walked through the line of soldiers. He towered over Han. He looked at the small human with the grease on his hands. I am Commander Eric, the Varan said, his voice vibrating in Han's chest. Han stood up straight and smiled. He put down his box. I am Engineer Han. This is Sue. We are here to fix your lights. Eric looked at the box. You think you can fix the death of a star with that box? Han grinned. I don't know, but I'm pretty good with fuses. Show me to the engine room. Eric looked at the human for a long moment. He saw no fear. He only saw excitement. Eric turned around. Follow me, small human. But know this. If you fail, you stay here in the dark with us. We wouldn't want it any other way. Han said. As they walked through the corridors of the giant alien ship, the Varan crew watched them. They had never seen creatures so small walk with such big steps. They did not know it yet, but the silence of the void was about to break. The humans had arrived, and they brought with them the most dangerous thing in the galaxy, hope. The corridors of the Varan flagship, the Iron Will, were dark and cold. As Engineer Han, his assistant Su, and their security detail walked through the metal halls, their footsteps echoed loudly. To the Varan soldiers guiding them, the humans looked incredibly small. The Varan were tall, covered in thick scales, and moved with a heavy, deliberate grace. In contrast, the humans walked quickly, their heads turning this way and that, looking at everything with curiosity. Su held a scanner in her hand, watching the small screen blink. "The radiation levels are high," she whispered to Han. "Not lethal, but it explains why their systems are draining so fast." Han nodded. He carried a heavy case filled with human tools. "It also explains why they haven't fixed it themselves. Their tech is too delicate. It's like trying to perform surgery with a hammer." They arrived at the main engine room. It was a cavernous space, larger than a cathedral. In the center stood the Singularity Drive. It was a massive sphere of black metal, suspended in a magnetic field. Usually it would glow with a soft blue light, the sign of a working star core. Now it was dark. It looked like a dead stone. Wires as thick as tree trunks hung from it, limp and lifeless. Commander Eric stood on a metal walkway above them, looking down. Around him, Varan engineers watched with suspicion. They held tablets and data pads, their faces grim. "This is the heart of our fleet," Eric said, his voice booming over the speakers. "It has been silent for 90 years. Our best scientists have tried to restart it. They all failed. What makes you think you can succeed?" Han put his case down on a metal table and popped the latches open. "The difference is that your scientists are trying to follow the rules," Han shouted up to the commander. "They are trying to repair the core using the manual. But the manual doesn't work when the core is this empty." He pulled out a thick orange cable from his case. It looked industrial and rough compared to the sleek alien technology. "We are not going to repair the core," Han continued. "We don't have the parts to fix the crystal lattice. Instead, we are going to jumpstart it. We are going to inject a massive amount of raw energy directly into the intake manifold and force it to spin." A murmur of shock went through the Varan engineers. One of them, an older female with pale scales, stepped forward. "That is impossible," she yelled. "The intake manifold is not designed for raw plasma. It will melt. The feedback loop will explode the ship. You will kill us all." Han looked at her, then at Eric. "Maybe, but if we do nothing, you die anyway. You are just dying slower. My way offers a chance." "A 50% chance?" Su looked at Han. She knew he was guessing. It was probably a 20% chance. But she didn't say anything. She just started setting up the portable relay generator. Eric stared at the small human. The Varan valued logic and safety. They calculated every risk. This human was proposing a gamble that could destroy them instantly. But as Eric looked around his engine room, at the dead consoles and the dim lights, he realized that safety had led them to extinction. "Do it," Eric commanded. The Varan engineers gasped. "Sir, you cannot let them. I gave an order." Eric roared. "Assist them. Connect their primitive cables to the main grid." For the next hour, the engine room was a chaotic mix of styles. The Varan engineers worked with graceful precision, removing panels with laser cutters. Han and Su worked with wrenches and zip ties, slamming their equipment into place. They bypassed safety regulators. They ignored warning alarms that blared red lights. Su climbed up a ladder to a high junction box. "Han, the voltage converter isn't going to hold this load. It's rated for industrial Earth use, not a starship core." "Hotwire it," Hen yelled from under the console. "Bypass the regulator. Just let the current flow straight through." Su wiped sweat from her forehead. She stripped the ends of 2 wires and twisted them together. Sparks showered down on her. She didn't flinch. She wrapped the connection in thick tape and jumped down. Commander Eric came down from the walkway. He wanted to be close when it happened, either to witness the miracle or to be the first to die. He stood next to Han. "You are very violent with your technology," Eric observed. Han wiped grease from his hands onto his pants. "We humans don't like it when things don't work. If a machine doesn't want to start, we convince it. Usually by kicking it. A figure of speech," Han said. He connected the final cable from the portable fusion generator brought from the human shuttle to the Varan drive. The generator hummed loudly, vibrating the floor. "Everyone back," Han shouted. "Sue, get behind the blast shield. Eric, you might want to step back too." The Varan commander did not move. He stood his ground. "I will watch." Han shrugged. He flipped a large switch on the generator. The sound was deafening. A low hum turned into a scream. The orange cable stiffened as power surged through it. The massive black sphere in the center of the room began to tremble. Blue sparks shot out from the connections Han had made. The smell of ozone filled the air. "It's drawing too much power." Sue screamed over the noise. "The generator is redlining." "Hold it!" Han yelled, his hands hovering over the controls. Just a few more seconds. The Varan engineers covered their eyes. The sphere began to spin, slowly at first, then faster. A low blue light appeared deep inside the black metal. It grew brighter. The vibrations in the floor became shaking. "Warning," the ship's computer voice said, calm and robotic. "Critical overheat. Structural integrity failing. Shut it down." The Varan engineer yelled. "It will blow." "No," Han shouted. "It's purging the radiation. Look." On the screens, the radiation levels in the core began to drop. The spin was stabilizing. The blue light turned into a steady, healthy pulse. The shaking stopped. The generator, which had been screaming, dropped to a low hum. Han hit a few buttons on his tablet, syncing the Varan drive with the human generator. "Transfer complete," he gasped. "The core is holding a charge. It's alive." Silence fell over the engine room. It was so quiet that the hum of the newly awakened core sounded like a heartbeat. The Varan engineers slowly lowered their hands. They looked at the screens, then at the giant blue sphere. It was working. It was actually working. Commander Eric stepped closer to the console. He saw the energy output readings. They were stable. He looked at Han, who was sitting on the floor, exhausted and covered in dirt. "You did it," Eric said. He sounded amazed. "You bypassed 1,000 safety protocols and used brute force to wake a dead star." Han smiled tiredly. "I told you. We don't give up easily." Sue came out from behind the shield. She was shaking slightly. "The generator is fried, though. We used everything it had to give the core that initial kick. We can't do it for the other ships. We don't have enough power." Eric looked at the human team. He realized that saving one ship was not enough. The whole Armada needed this jump. But he also realized that these humans had given them something more important than power. They had given them a method. "Can your ship generate more power?" Eric asked. Sue nodded. "The Samaritan has a much larger reactor. But if we try to beam that much energy through space to hundreds of ships, the beams will dissipate. It won't work." Han stood up and wiped his hands on his shirt again. He looked at the schematic of the fleet on the main screen. An idea was forming in his head. It was a crazy, dangerous idea. The kind of idea humans were famous for. "We don't beam it to each ship," Han said slowly. "We link them together." Eric frowned. "Explain." "The Varan ships are all designed to link energy shields during battle, right? To share power?" Han asked. "Yes, for defense," Eric said. "We use that same system," Han said. "We link every ship in the Armada together with cables. Or we synchronize their receivers. We create a giant circuit. Then the Samaritan dumps its entire reactor output into the flagship. You act as the amplifier. You spread the energy to the rest of the fleet." The Varan engineers looked at each other in horror. "Link the whole fleet in the void?" One said. If the surge is too strong, it won't just be one ship exploding. It will be a chain reaction. We could all go up at once. Han looked at Eric. It's the only way to get everyone home. You have to trust us. You have to trust each other. Eric looked at the blue glow of the engine. It was warm. It felt like life. He had spent a century in the cold. He was tired of the cold. He turned to his communications officer. Contact the Captain June on the human ship, Eric ordered. Tell them we accept their help. And tell the fleet to prepare for a synchronized link. We are going to light up the darkness. As the orders went out, the humans watched the Varan crew move. They were no longer moving with the slow shuffle of defeat. They were moving with purpose. The Varan were afraid, yes, but they were also excited. They were working with the humans now, not as prisoners, but as partners. Han clapped Eric on the arm. Eric flinched at the touch, but he did not pull away. Don't worry, big guy, Han said. If we blow up, we'll do it together. Eric looked down at the small human. For the first time in a century, the corners of his mouth turned up in a slight smile. I would prefer not to blow up, Engineer Han, but I suppose it is better than rotting. They began the work to link the fleet. It was a massive job. There were hundreds of ships. They had to align them perfectly. They had to modify the receivers. Humans and Vorons worked side by side, passing cables, climbing ladders, and typing on keyboards. The language barrier was hard, but the language of engineering was universal. Up in space, the view of the Armada began to change. The ships were moving closer together. They were forming a giant circle. In the center sat the iron will, the heart. And on the other side of the circle sat the Samaritan, the battery. Captain June watched from the bridge of his ship. They are linking up, Jahan said, surprised. I can't believe they are actually doing it. It's insane. It is, June said. But it's also brilliant. Charge the main reactor to maximum. We are going to need everything we have. The night was not over. The hardest part was yet to come. But for the first time, the lights were turning on in the dark. The work to link the massive Varan fleet was hard and dangerous. Small shuttles flew back and forth between the giant ships, carrying thick cables and portable connectors. Human engineers worked alongside Varan technicians. The contrast was strange to see. The Vorons were tall, strong, and careful. They moved slowly and double-checked every calculation. The humans were smaller, faster, and messy. They used duct tape to hold wires together, and they joked while they worked. After many hours, the fleet was ready. Hundreds of ships were physically connected to each other in a giant web, and the Samaritan was connected to the center of that web. Commander Eric stood on the bridge of the Iron Will. He looked at the main screen. The energy readings were climbing. The fleet is linked, Eric said. We are ready to receive the charge from the human ship. Good, said the voice of Captain June over the radio. Prepare yourselves. This is going to be rough. We are sending a lot of power. On the Samaritan, the engine room was glowing red. The reactors were working at 110%. Warning lights were flashing everywhere, but the crew ignored them. Energy transfer starting in 3, 2, 1, said the ship's computer. A beam of pure blue energy shot out from the Samaritan. It hit the Iron Will and traveled through the web of cables. For a moment, everything was quiet. Then the lights on the Varan ships flickered and turned on. One by one, the dead ships woke up. Engines hummed. Screens lit up. Air circulation fans began to spin. The Varan crews cheered, but it was a short celebration. As the power flowed through the fleet, the strain became too much for the human ship. On the bridge of the Samaritan, alarms began to scream. Reactor core is overheating. Lieutenant Jahan shouted. The output is too high. We can't sustain this load. Keep it steady. Captain June ordered. Just a little longer. They need to build up enough charge to jump. Sir, the cooling pipes are bursting, Jahan said. If we don't stop now, the Samaritan will explode. June looked at the screen. He saw the Varan ships charging up. They were almost at the level they needed to escape the void. If he stopped now, they would fail. If he kept going, his ship might die? Jettison the cooling rods, June said calmly. We will run dry. We can't jettison them while the reactor is hot. Young cried. It will cause a plasma surge. Do it! June shouted. The crew rushed to the manual overrides. With a loud thud, the cooling rods were ejected from the ship. The reactor roared like a beast. The power output spiked to a critical level. The Samaritan shook violently. Sparks rained down on the bridge. Consoles exploded. Surge detected. Han yelled over the radio from the Varan ship. It's working. The fleet is charged. They have enough energy. Cut off, June yelled. Cut the connection now. Jan slammed her hand on the abort button. The blue beam snapped off. The connection cables burned and floated away into space. Silence returned to the Samaritan, except for the sound of groaning metal and smoke. The Varan fleet was alive. The Iron Will and the hundreds of other ships were glowing with power. They were free from the drain of the void. They had the energy to warp. Status, June coughed, waving smoke away from his face. Reactor is offline, Jan reported, her face covered in soot. We have auxiliary power only. Life support is holding. We are drifting, but we are alive. June sank into his chair. He was exhausted. Good work, everyone. Suddenly, a message came through from the Varan flagship. It was Commander Eric. Captain June, Eric said. His voice sounded different. It was not cold anymore. It was full of emotion. We have the power. Our navigation computers are calculating the jump coordinates. You saved us. You risked your ship to give us energy. We keep our promises, Commander, June said. Go home, get your people to safety. We cannot leave you here, Eric said. Your ship is damaged. You are drifting. If we leave, you will be lost in the void again. We have a distress beacon, June said. Another human ship will come eventually, so you have your chance. No, Eric said firmly. We are the Varan. We do not leave our allies behind. We are locking onto your ship with our tractor beams. We are taking you with us. June smiled. He was too tired to argue. Understood, Commander. Take us to your planet. The Varan fleet engaged their warp drives. The stars in front of them stretched into lines of light. With the Samaritan in tow, the massive Armada disappeared from the dead region of space. They were gone in a flash. They traveled faster than light for only a few minutes before dropping back into normal space. In front of them hung a beautiful blue and green planet. It was Varan Prime, the homeworld of the reptilian race. It had round cities made of white stone and large ships flying in the atmosphere. For the Varan crew, seeing their home was the happiest moment of their lives. Many of them cried. For the humans, it was amazing. They saw a world that was not Earth, full of life and color. The fleet moved into orbit around the planet. Small shuttles flew up to greet them. The Varan people on the ground were celebrating. Their lost Armada had returned. But the biggest surprise was the small, damaged white ship that was carried in the tractor beams of the flagship, the Samaritan, was gently placed in a docking bay at the largest space station. The airlock hissed open and the human crew stepped out. They were covered in dirt and grease, and they looked very small compared to the Vorans waiting for them. Commander Eric was there to meet them. He bowed low, which was a sign of great respect in his culture. Welcome to Varan Prime, Captain June, Eric said. You are our guests. You will be treated like heroes. Thank you, Commander, June said. My crew could use some rest. As the humans walked through the space station, Varan citizens stopped to look at them. They had never seen humans before. They whispered to each other. They looked at the humans' soft skin, their round ears, and their small stature. They did not look like mighty warriors. They looked weak, but then the Vorans saw the way the humans walked. They walked with confidence. They smiled at the aliens. They weren't afraid. Dr. Jin, the medical officer from the Samaritan, was walking with Lieutenant Yeon. Look at them. Jin whispered. They are staring at us like we are animals in a zoo. They are just curious, Jan said. We are the first aliens they have ever met that aren't trying to kill them. The humans were taken to a large building in the capital city. It was a guest palace. The Vorons gave them rooms with soft beds and hot water. It was the first time in months the humans had slept in a real bed. They slept for a whole day. When they woke up, there was food waiting for them. It was Voron food. It consisted of gray blocks of nutrient paste and some crunchy insects. The humans looked at the food with disgust. What is this? Sue asked, poking the gray paste with a spoon. It tastes like wet cardboard. Engineer Han tried one of the insects and spat it out. It has no flavor. It's just dry and crunchy. How do you people eat this? A Voron guard was standing by the door. This is the food of our people, the guard said. It provides all the vitamins and minerals we need. It is efficient. Han laughed. Efficient, yes, but boring. You guys don't know what you are missing. Dr. Jin stood up. I can't eat this. I'm going to the kitchen. I need to find some real ingredients. The humans went to the kitchen attached to their quarters. The Voron staff watched them closely. The humans asked for vegetables, meats, spices, and oils. The Vorons brought the items confused. The humans began to chop and cook. They used fire and pans. They mixed garlic, peppers, and herbs to create smells that filled the whole palace. The smell drifted out into the corridors. Voron guards and servants sniffed the air. It smelled strong and spicy. It made their mouths water, even though they didn't know why. An hour later, the humans sat down to eat. They had made a spicy stew, grilled meat with herbs and flatbreads. They invited the Voron guards and the staff to eat with them. At first, the Vorons were hesitant. We have our rations, one guard said. Try this, Jin said, handing the guard a bowl of stew. Just one bite. The guard took the bowl. He took a spoonful and put it in his mouth. His eyes went wide. He stopped chewing. He looked at the bowl, then at Jin. What is this? The guard asked. It burns. But it tastes good. It tastes like joy? That is pepper and salt, Jin said. That is garlic. The Vorons tasted the other dishes. They couldn't believe it. For their entire lives, food had just been fuel for their bodies. They didn't know food could be an experience. They didn't know that eating could make you happy. More Vorons came into the room. They heard about the magic fire food. Soon the kitchen was full of tall reptilian aliens eating human food. They laughed. They talked. They asked the humans how to make the flavors. Commander Eric came in to see what the noise was. He saw his soldiers, usually serious and stern, sitting on the floor with the small humans, eating and laughing. He saw Han teaching a Voron admiral how to use chopsticks. He saw Jan explaining to a guard why spicy food makes you sweat. Eric tasted a piece of the grilled meat. He closed his eyes. The flavor was intense. It reminded him of the sun on his scales when he was a hatchling. It reminded him of home. You humans, Eric said to June, who was sitting nearby. You are very strange. You risk your lives to save us? You break your own ship to give us power. And now, you teach us that food is supposed to taste like something. June smiled and took a bite of bread. We believe that life is meant to be enjoyed, Commander. Not just survived. Eric looked at the happy scene. He realized that the humans were not weak. Their power was not in their muscles or their weapons. Their power was in their spirit. They found joy in the dark. They created flavor where there was none. My people will want to repay you, Eric said. We will want to give you technology. We will want to give you ships. We will want to make an alliance. June nodded. An alliance would be good, but we don't need payment for the rescue. We are just glad we could help. That is not how the galaxy works, Eric said. But we will learn your way. We will start by learning how to cook this stew. For the next few days, the human crew became celebrities on Voron Prime. Scientists came to talk to them. Engineers came to look at the Samaritan. But mostly, the Vorons came to eat. The humans held a cooking class in the palace courtyard every afternoon. It was the strangest diplomatic meeting in galactic history, but it brought the two species closer than any treaty ever could. However, the humans knew they could not stay forever. The Samaritan was damaged, but it could be fixed. And Earth was waiting for them. They had to go back and tell their people what they had found. They had found a friend in the stars. Captain June stood on a balcony looking at the Varan night sky. The moon was large and red. Commander Eric joined him. "Your ship will be ready in 2 days," Eric said. "Our best mechanics are fixing the reactor. They are using some human ideas you gave them. It seems your reckless ways are effective." "I'm glad to hear it," June said. "We will be leaving soon." Eric was silent for a moment. "I will be sad to see you go, Captain. But before you leave, the High Council wants to speak with you. They want to formalize the alliance. They want to know what you want in return for saving our civilization." June turned to look at the tall alien. "Tell them we will be there. And tell them I have already thought about what I want." "And what is that?" "I'll tell them tomorrow," June said. "For now, let's go eat." Dr. Jin says he made a cake. The Great Hall of the Varan High Council was a place of serious business. The walls were made of black stone, and the ceiling was so high that it seemed to touch the sky. In the center of the room sat the council members. They were the oldest and strongest Vorans, wearing heavy robes of gold and red. They looked down at the human delegation standing at the bottom of the stairs. Captain June stood at the front of his team. Next to him was Engineer Han, Lieutenant Yan, and Dr. Jin. They wore their best dress uniforms, which looked simple and clean compared to the heavy decorations of the Vorans. The humans were nervous, but they stood tall and did not look away from the council. High Counselor Wan stood up from his chair. He was very old, with scales that had turned a deep, dark gray over the years. He raised a hand to silence the room. "Humans of Earth," Wan began. His voice was deep and echoed in the large hall. "We have gathered here to discuss your future. You came from the darkness. You found our lost Armada. You gave us the energy to live, and you gave us the fire of life. We are in your debt." The council members nodded their heads in agreement. It was a great honor for a Varan to admit a debt, especially to a smaller, weaker species. Counselor Wang continued. "Our law is clear. When a life is saved, a price must be paid. We cannot let this debt stand unpaid. It would bring shame to our empire. Therefore, we offer you the greatest treasures we have." Wan waved his hand and a large holographic map appeared in the air between them. It showed a star system with many planets. "We offer you the mining rights to the asteroid belt of Vex," Wan said. "It is rich in rare metals. More gold and platinum than your planet has ever seen. With this, your human race will become rich. Or, if you prefer technology, we will give you the plans for our plasma shields. With this, no enemy could ever harm Earth." The humans looked at each other. It was an incredible offer. The asteroids could solve the economic problems on Earth. The shields could protect every human city. It was the kind of reward that generals and presidents dreamed of. Captain June stepped forward. He bowed slightly to the council. "Counselor Wan," June said, "we are honored by your offer. The riches of the Vex belt are great. The technology of your shields is powerful, but we cannot accept them." A shocked silence filled the hall. The Varan council members whispered to each other. They were confused. Why would these small creatures refuse such wealth? "You refuse?" Wan asked, his eyebrows rising in surprise. "Do you not understand the value of what we offer? Do you wish for more? We can give you a starship. We can give you a planet to colonize." "It is not about the value," June said clearly. "It is about the reason. We did not help you because we wanted payment. We helped you because you were in trouble. That is who we are. If we take your riches, then our help becomes a business deal. We do not want it to be a deal. We want it to be friendship." Counselor Wan stared at June. He had lived for 200 years. He had made thousands of treaties. He had fought in many wars. He had never met a species that did not want something in return. To the Varan, life was a trade. You give something, you get something. It was the law of nature. But without payment, one said slowly, the balance is broken. You have the power. We have the debt? This is not natural. We don't need balance, June said. We need a neighbor. We need a friend in the stars. When we left Earth, we were alone. We didn't know if anyone else out there was good. Now we know you are. That is enough for us. Engineer Han stepped forward beside his captain. Think of it this way, counselor. When we fixed your engine, we didn't ask for money. When we taught you to cook stew, you didn't ask us for a recipe fee. We just did it. Because it made us happy. Because it made things better. Counselor Wan looked at Han. He remembered the taste of the spicy stew. He remembered the feeling of the warm human ship. He remembered the laughter of his soldiers in the kitchen. He realized that the humans were right. The payment of the stew was the taste itself. The joy was the payment. Wan sat back down in his chair. He thought for a long time. The other council members waited patiently. Finally, Wan spoke again. You are a strange people, Wan said. Your logic is soft, but perhaps the galaxy is too hard. Perhaps we need a little softness. Wan stood up once more. If you will not take our treasures, then we will give you our trust. We declare the Varan Empire and the planet Earth to be eternal allies. We promise that if anyone attacks Earth, the Varan Armada will come to your aid. We will be your shield, just as you were our light. June smiled. That is a promise we will keep too. The meeting ended with cheers. It was not the loud, violent cheering of soldiers, but a warm applause. The humans and the Vorans shook hands, or in the case of the reptilians, clasped forearms. Over the next few days, the Samaritan was repaired. The Varan mechanics worked hard, and with Han's advice, they managed to fix the reactor better than it was before. They added some Varan alloys to the hull, making it stronger. The time came for the humans to leave. The Samaritan was parked in the orbit of Varan Prime, ready to jump back to Earth space. A small shuttle carried June and his team down to the surface. One last time to say goodbye. They landed in the main plaza of the capital city. Thousands of Varan citizens were there to see them off. There were no weapons this time, only flags and flowers. When the humans stepped out of the shuttle, the crowd roared. It was a roar of welcome and gratitude. Commander Eric was waiting for them. He looked different than when they first met in the dark engine room. His scales looked brighter. He stood straighter. Captain June, Eric said. Your ship is ready. Our navigators have uploaded a star map to your computer. It shows the safe routes through the void. You will not get lost. Thank you, Eric, June said. I hope we meet again. You will, Eric said with confidence. The galaxy is big, but our paths will cross again. I have a feeling. Dr. Jin stepped forward and handed a small data chip to Eric. This is for you, Jin said. Eric looked at the chip. What is it? Is it advanced weapon technology? Jin laughed. No, it is a recipe book. It has all the stews, the breads, and the cakes we taught you, plus a few hundred new ones I wrote down for you. Eric took the chip carefully, as if it were made of diamond. This is a powerful weapon, Doctor. It fights sadness. I will use it well. Sue and Jan were saying goodbye to the Varan engineers they had worked with. They exchanged small gifts, human tools for Varan crystals, earth coins for Varan shells. It was a happy but sad moment. They had become friends in a very short time. Finally, the human team boarded the shuttle. They flew back up to the Samaritan. As they entered the bridge, the ship felt like home again. They strapped into their seats. Systems check, June said. All green, Jan replied. Reactor is stable. Fuel tanks are full. We have enough energy to get back to Earth with plenty to spare. Open a channel to the Varan fleet, June ordered. The channel opened. They could hear the voices of the Varan commanders wishing them luck. Human ship, fly safe, Eric's voice came through. May your stars always shine. Thank you, Varan fleet, June replied. Engage warp drive. The Samaritan began to move. It turned away from the beautiful blue planet. The engines glowed, and the stars stretched out into lines of light. With a flash, the human ship disappeared, leaving Varan Prime behind. The journey back to Earth was quiet. The crew had a lot to think about. They had gone out as explorers, but they returned as ambassadors. They had changed the future of their planet.